Madam Clerk, could you start us off by the agenda?
Commissioner Marecki. Here. Commissioner Clementi. Here. Commissioner Baydun.
Here.
Vice Chair Kinlock. Chair Anderson.
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you.
Item B, Chair's remarks.
I'll hold off my remarks until a little later, but we'll, I guess, go ahead and proceed.
Item C, approval of the September 19, 2023 meeting minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Next on.
moving to New business, number one, an update from James Heath and Carter Fisher regarding the status of the criminal justice complex.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. James Heath, Wayne County Corporation Counsel.
James got an announcement to make too, by the way.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Greg Hurst, Director of Facilities Management and Planning.
Start off with some good news. The reason Carter Fisher is not here is he and his wife welcomed Laura Elizabeth Fisher on Tuesday night. And so that's their first daughter, first child. And so mother and daughter are doing well. I can't speak for Carter. But he's really excited, and he's going to be taking some leave, as he should, to take care of his growing family. And so we'll still be in touch, and he still will be doing some reports. That is unfortunately why you didn't receive your normal report this month, but we will be following up with it the next day or so. But just wanted to let you know about that great news. What you have received in TCM was put in today, so I doubt you've seen it, is the financial spreadsheet that we had been discussing at the change order meeting, and then our last subcommittee meeting. Yogesh did have a chance to discuss with Terrence some of the things which are on that sheet, and I think that there were some tweaks made to it. And so I did not realize until today that they had actually spoken. And so when I got the report, I was offering to help set up a meeting between the two, and Terrence and Yogesh told me to butt out of their business, that they had already been discussing it. And so that was a positive. And so that's moving along. And so I appreciate your patience with that, and I want to let you know that is in TCM for you all to review. As they continue to talk, it's possible that there'll be some changes or alterations made to that. But I'll let Terrence at an appropriate time, when he's had more conversation with him, weigh in with his analysis for you all. Just wanted to make you aware of some of the developments. Our last subcommittee meeting was September 19th, I believe. And so some of the things that have been happening since then, as I told you, even though we had rejected ROC's claim of substantial completion, they have continued to do work on the project and have made progress. On October 5th, the county sent a letter to ROC in which we indicated that we appreciated the progress that had continued to be made, that we thought that there were some areas where it made sense because we had whittled down the outstanding list to a point where I thought it made sense for us to have a sit down and perhaps really plot out exactly when and how we get to not only substantial completion, but final turnover, or not final turnover, but turnover, which, as you know, is a date that really starts the clock for our transition. We had a number of items on our list to say we need these things, and information about certain dates and certain work that was still outstanding before we could effectively have that conversation. I'm happy to report that today, about 10 o'clock this morning, I received formal notification from ROC answering those questions. I have not had a chance to go through all of the attachments, and so I can't tell you everything that's in there. I'm going to assume, for the sake of our conversation here today, that most of what we asked for is in fact there. I don't know if Greg's had a chance to look at it either, probably not. But that's just an example of the progress that we've been making and that we feel good about. One of the things that we had been discussing and I've been bringing up to this subcommittee is the Michigan Department of Corrections review and inspections that are required for the adult detention facility. MDOC did come to the facility. And it's my understanding from just a cursory review of the information we got from Rock that they've been issued some preliminary go-ahead communication from MDOC. That's one of the things that was on our list, something that we're going to be looking at. But I know that that review did occur, and I'm just looking at the results of that. So that's just an indication, a tangible one of some of the progress that has been made and why we are feeling good about things as we go forward. Late last week, we had another, probably our most productive meeting with the city of Detroit. As you know, with one of the things that we have been very much interested in is the areas surrounding the offsite lots at the CJC, because that's our employees are going to have to walk, or someone's going to say shuttle today, from those lots to the CJC. But however it is, we want that experience to be as nice as possible. That will include upgraded bus shelters and streetscapes, sidewalks, and the like. Those are things that are the city's overall general responsibility, but we obviously have an interest because our employees and our visitors to our facility are going to be the ones using that primarily. And so we've been entering into discussions with them about how we begin that process, move it forward so that by springtime, when the facility is open and running, we'll have that done. The commission, you all are going to be seeing over the next couple of weeks, an IGA with the city of Detroit, which is going to spell out the joint responsibilities we have in that regard. We are discussing it with them right now. And my hope is that we might be able to perhaps secure some state funding as well for some of this work, because this is a, kind of an all hands on deck project, but we want to make sure that we have the funding to at least get started so that the contracts can be let over the winter time. And as soon as spring breaks and construction season is upon us, we can start working so that those things will be done. A lot of that work, you all remember, has been going on for a long time. And I know back when he was chair, Commissioner Kinlock, you kind of got the ball rolling with some overtures to the city. And so I appreciate that work is starting to come to fruition. And so we're going to continue to need the assistance of this body. The city's going to need the assistance of their legislative body to approve what they need to approve as well. But I think it's something that from our side, we want to be aggressive in pushing, because we are the ones who stand to benefit from it because of our employees and our visitors. And so it's something that as you get the IGA, and perhaps we'll call upon you, Mr. Chairman, or other members of this committee to help us continue to push this as we see, because the benefit really is going to come. When employees come and they complain about the area, they're going to come to this body, as you can imagine. So I want all of us to have something to say in that regard. That does bring me to shuttle service. I know it's come up in a number of areas. One thing I want to say is we have commissioned a study with Walker Consultants. You've probably heard their name. They are the group that are helping with our parking in general in the area, to get an idea of what the cost for shuttle services would be. And so we've got several different options that we've looked at, and they range in costs from about $1 million to $2 million a year. I mean, it's not a cheap enterprise to run these shuttles, and the price fluctuation really is a function of the hours that it's running, the number of days per year, the number of shuttles, and the like. What I will say is a couple things. A final decision on that has no bearing on our construction. And so it's not, that's something that is, can be determined as we go forward, obviously before our employees get into the area and need the shuttle service, but it's not something that we've got to decide exactly how it's going to be today. And it's, it's going to be a function of what the county believes that it can afford and the like. And so that's a decision that I know members of the commission have strong feelings about. members of our end user groups have strong feelings about. What I'm here to tell you is that there's been not a final decision on anything that we are going to do, and there will be robust discussion at the appropriate time when we have to make that decision. What I will say, just a few things though, the distances from the farthest lot that we own right now, which would be Lot A, if I'm correct, which is one of the two lots that Rock had to build, is a shorter distance from the CJC than First Street parking is to the Guardian building. So that just gives you somewhat of a thought in your mind of the distances that we are talking about. That being said,
the distance is from where? Can you repeat the distance again? I'm sorry about that.
I don't have it in feet, but what I will tell you is the furthest lot that the county owns right now is what we are affectionately referred to as Lot A.
Okay.
The distance between Lot A and the CJC is a shorter walk from Guardian Building to First Street parking, just to give you kind of a comparison of what happens right now. That's the only point I'm trying to make with that. That being said, I know shuttle service is something that is important to folks. We are happy to continue to engage in what we want to spend, and I think it's important that we that we have that discussion. We continue to look for additional parking in that area. There is a parcel owned by the Detroit Public School Community District that we are in the process of discussing a potential lease with them to pick up. How many spots, Greg? You might want to talk a little bit about that in general.
Sure. So potentially roughly about 137 spots, which would be separation of a large lot they have at a warehouse that is across the street from one of the lots that we have currently for the CJC. And so we're in discussions with leadership from DPSCD to see if there could be a mutual, agreement that we can have to kind of split that space. So we would have our own secured parking and they would continue to have their secured parking as well.
On that issue, I'm assuming it's on that issue, Commissioner Kenlock had a question, I think.
So it was on the parking piece.
Okay.
It's on parking. So so the sustainability, that's going to be something that you're looking at as far as long-term financing, as far as any shuttle service, because I would hate for us to embark upon it or, provide for it and then have to, yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah, the good thing about shuttle service, it's not like we're putting in infrastructure
correct,
to
right.
do it, right? I mean, it's drivers in the van that go around. And so for instance, I don't mean to minimize it, but when we, during COVID, for instance, and the shuttle service that we have from Guardian to First Street, it turned off for a period of time. And then when we, employees came back and needed more, we turned it back on. It's that sort of thing. And so there's not really like a long-term commitment that we have to make in this regard. There is an opportunity. And if we were to go to a shuttle model, we would, draft the contract in such a way that the county would be able to make changes. One of the things that we do know, just from looking at the kind of the ridership of the shuttle we do here, is, as you would imagine, it's seasonal. I mean, in August, fewer people ride the shuttle, as the weather gets more inclement, more people do. So there's that. The other thing is, because of COVID and because of the just the difficulty in understanding traffic numbers, and by traffic, I mean walking numbers and people who might use a thing. It's a challenge for us to know before we're there exactly how many people would be using it. And so, this is a sort of thing where you make your best guess, you leave your room for flexibility to alter it as appropriate. And, we come to the right solution at a point. And so the main point I want to leave you with.
I'm saying that $1 million, $2 million thrown out there. That's what I was. Yeah,
well, yeah.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yeah, just for everyone's knowledge, the parking, the first street parking is 0.4 miles from here. So if it's shorter than that, it's shorter than a half a mile.
It
at
is.
least a mile. So just saying.
Thank you. Continue with your.
So the
presentation.
only, and so I just thank Mr. Hurst for talking about that, the Detroit Public School Community District. That just is an example saying that we are always looking for opportunities for additional parking in that area that makes sense for the county, especially in areas as close as we can be. As you know, we've made changes to Lincoln Hall and we're going to be paving that, a portion of that lot as well. And so parking is at the forefront of our minds. And this commission has always been interested in efforts surrounding a potential for a civil courthouse as well. And so, we are engaging with the court in those sorts of discussions. And I'd be lying to you if I said that that's not in the back of our mind as we look at all the parking and everything that is available. And so we just want to be as flexible as we can. Sure.
Just wanted to interject something. So jurors, have we decided, has there been a decision made on how are they going to be charged? They're going to be, have free parking if they're doing jury duty?
So we are still in the process of making those final decisions. What I will tell you is that the court does an excellent job of representing their needs to us, and an important aspect of that are is the jury pool and making sure that they have as much of an opportunity to serve as possible. And so as more final decisions about where people are going to park, we're in that part of that discussion now, and that includes our MDOC, the probation officers who are going to be working out of facility. And also, we are also taking into account our jury pool as well.
Okay, Commissioner Kinlock again.
Yes, a couple of questions. Will the employee lot and general public parking lot be the same? Or,
It's yet to be determined.
okay, and then also, you and I briefly touched base on that parking ordinance, the parking statute I talked about. So my question is relates, who will have the final decision on the parking lot, the parking and the shuttle service? And who's making the final decision associated with the jurors, being able to park for free or not park for free?
So I think that the decisions with respect to what the county will charge, if anything, for the lots that we own is going to be a decision that from the executive side that Mr. Evans will be making. What I will tell you is that I doubt seriously, and I can't say for certain, but I doubt that. I think there's going to be a global decision about all of those lots, frankly, as opposed to picking out jurors here or this State Department there or that sort of thing. I think that's really what we're
So that's
headed
what I
to.
wanted us to talk about, that.
Yeah.
So let's follow up on that piece as
Sure.
far as that. Yeah, thank you.
Understood.
Just a moment, I wanted to recognize our legal counsel, Felicia.
And through the chair, to this honorable body, and I think this will probably require some discussion later, depending on the commissioners, but it's just not clear to me that would be a sole decision of the CEO if this body wanted to have some input in it with regards to charging. I mean, it seems like a financial and a budgeting matter, but I could be wrong. But as I usually do, I just put it out there for further discussion if necessary. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your comment, and it is something, of course, we're going to have to approve contracts. So I think advance notice and being brought into that discussion before a final decision is made and then just submitted to us.
As well as fees, fees,
Right,
I think would be
exactly.
required. That's an action item. If we charge, the county's charging fees.
And we do have we do have a fee ordinance, and I think some of these decisions may not be a contractual matter, so I don't want this body to walk away thinking everything that they're talking about will result in a contract. I don't believe that's the case. Some things will, like the operator of the parking lot, if it's not the county.
Right.
So don't think that everything that they're making decisions on and talking about will result in a contract. So if you want to have those inputs and discussions or understanding, this is the time to probably do so.
So certainly if we have contracts with the operator,
There will be. And so,
Yeah.
so that's and thank you for bringing that up. That's a perfect example of one of the major things that you are going to have to weigh in on and approve, ultimate operator for the lots in general. And one of the questions that will have to come up in that discussion is when there's an amount of money that we pay to the operator for them to operate the lots, you will say, well, is there any revenue coming in for that to offset that? And we will say yes, we will say no, or whatever it is. And there will be a robust discussion about, how we get revenue from these parking lots for certain. The final thing that I want to bring to your attention is a new matter, and we've had some general discussion with Commission Counsel, and I think that it's been communicated to perhaps the chair or the like. Our agreement with CGL, our owner's representative, was for the most part, with a major exception, a capped $6.2 million contract. However, the agreement that was approved by the commission, signed by the county executive, that contemplated that there would be a July 1st substantial completion for the project. As you all know, we did not achieve substantial completion by July 1. The contract that was approved indicated that the parties would enter into discussions if substantial completion went beyond July 1 to make sure that the owner's rep continued to provide services that they are providing, not just our construction owner's rep activities, but also assisting us with the issue that all of us at this table care most about right now, turnover services, or transition services rather. And so once it became clear that we would not meet, that substantial completion would not be July 1, we began discussions with CGL about amending the agreement for reasons that we'll probably discuss in greater detail when we present what we believe is an appropriate solution to the commission. We thought that we should rely on the language already existing in the contract, which the county approved, the commission approved, the county signed with CGL with respect to the flat fees and the rates that would go beyond the July 1st date. And so what we will be presenting to you in the weeks to come, and this is just a preview of that, is not changing the terms of the agreement, but adding additional funds to the CGL agreement so that the services that we rely on from them, finishing out construction, moving into transition, will continue to be performed. And that is kind of a 30,000-foot overview. We are working on language that will come to this body in the next 2 weeks or so, and we'll have a more robust discussion. But since we preview things first with this subcommittee, I wanted to bring it up to you to be aware.
one other thing that I had was just an update. If you have an update for us on the move-in plans, I'm sure it's incredibly complex coordination between the different users. And do we have anything that you could update us on that? Is that those discussions, I'm sure, have been ongoing, but I'm just wondering if you've got anything that'll tell us who's likely to be the first ones to go in. And
yeah, those plans are still being developed and worked through with our end users. You can imagine CGL is kind of doing double duty with helping to close out on construction and doing transition at the same time. What we have committed to, though, is kind of once we get over this substantial hump before in that kind of sweet spot after substantial before turnover, is that we will bring the transition leads from CGL in, and they can kind of give you kind of an overview of what to expect. And this will be really a similar presentation that the end users themselves are getting about how transition is going to be managed. So that transition won't start happening. And by transition is already happening because they're planning and talking about it. But I mean, the actual moving and all of that sort of action won't start happening without this body having had an opportunity to discuss it with the CGL transition folks. That is one of the reasons why it's so important that the contract that I just discussed, the additional funds be added to the same contract that you were approved, so that we make sure those services continue.
So do we have any, probably the last thing I'll have is, do we have anything contingency plans if the weather doesn't cooperate when we are able to start moving in?
You know, that's a fair question, and I ask it. I used to ask it all the time. Everything that I've been told, and really this is a question for Oneida, who's our move consultant, is that the weather doesn't play a role whatsoever in this. You know, really, I mean, this is kind of like old school blocking and tackling with, you know, employees packing up the stuff that they've got in time, getting that stuff out, moved into the facility. And so, you know, 70 and sunny versus -7 doesn't really make a difference. And Greg, maybe you want to elaborate on that?
Sure, absolutely. So, and great question. So as far as space planning and move management, a lot of those background things that need to happen before we even pick the box up and move it, those conversations are happening and reoccurring weekly. So facilities team, CGL, Oneida, we are on those calls as a collective team to get ready so that, you know, once turnover does happen, you know, we're pretty much ready to go. And we're to the point where a lot of that planning, we're very close with the end users. And there's some things that, you know, as far as dates, we're still going to need to kind of figure out as far as, you know, actually what day do you start the move. But as far as where people are going to go, walkthroughs with that, we're even at the point of really just trying to get a stage of knowing from which room to which room at this point. So we're really starting to get into the more of those finite details so that when the day comes, it'll be, we're ready to mobilize the specific types of trucks. So we're even getting to that kind of almost granular piece, if you will. So a lot of that work is happening behind the scenes.
Do you, any other things that you have in your report?
Nothing for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Greg, anything else?
No, all set.
Okay. all
Thank
right.
you.
Any other questions, members? Seeing no other questions, I guess we can call this meeting to a close.
Oh, no, 1 second.
I'm sorry. Right, we're going to do that, certainly. Madam Clerk,
Item E, such other matters as may be properly submitted by the committee.
I have none. Anyone else receive anything? Having seen none. Any public comments? Do we have any public comments from anyone online?
There are no hands on Zoom.
Okay, anything submitted?
No emails were received.
Pardon me?
No emails were
Okay,
received.
all right, thank you. And next item,
Adjournment.